What is up, Dynasty Leaguers? Welcome back into another DLF YouTube channel video. Today's video, I thought we could just kind of mix it up a little bit, do something a little bit more fun, and gonna go through the DLF Forum. This is a forum and kind of a web answering kind of chat room where you can just go in here, post a topic, answer other people's questions, kind of just go through it, you know, like a typical forum room. So I decided to go into the Dynasty team advice folder on this forum and just thought I would run through some of these questions that are on here, maybe give a little bit of advice on here, not necessarily to maybe the people that are on this forum and that ask the question specifically, unless they're watching, of course, in which case, hello. But maybe just to kind of help some of you guys out there, maybe you have similar situations and whatnot, or just talking about some players here. So I thought this would be a different change of pace type of a video, a little bit more fun, and we can just kind of have some fun just running through another tool and thing that I haven't really showcased on the channel yet. So I've already gone through some of these. You'll see some of these are already great. They're links that I already clicked to kind of run through and see if there's any that were really fun. I do think that this first one was actually kind of interesting. Stafford Chubb for Hertz Plus. So he said in his 16-team Superflex League, PPR, 0.25 per carry. Would you give Stafford and Nick Chubb to get Jalen Hurts, Josh Jacobs, and the 110? I feel like this is actually kind of close, but I would lean the Hurts Jacob 110 side because for Jalen Hurts, you know, you're getting 0.25 points per every carry that he's running on top of every carry that Josh Jacobs is getting, and you're getting the 110 as well. While I do believe that Stafford and Hurts could be pretty similar, you know, in terms of a regular quarterback scoring, I think Hurts gets the nod in 0.25 per carry because Stafford's not really that type of a quarterback. I would take Chubb over Jacobs just based on volume and production, but in a 0.25 points per carry league, you know, that they could end up kind of canceling each other out. Even with Kenyon Drake there, remains to be seen what kind of an effect that he would have. But I think he's more primarily a backup, or at least takes away the receiving volume that Jacobs never really got anyway. So the rushing floor might still be there. And then you're getting the Superflex 110, which could be Javonte Williams, Kyle Pitts, Rashad Bateman, Devonta Smith, Rondale Moore, Jalen Waddle. Like, there's a very solid group of players that you can get at that 110 that makes me lean towards that side for Stafford and Chubb, giving away Stafford and Chubb to get Hurts, Jacobs, and the 110. The next one here, Sutton off of ACL. Is he worth the 1.08 and 3.1 this year? This guy mentioned that he does need a wide receiver, or should he wait to grab a wide receiver in the draft? I think this is actually a very interesting question as what to do with Courtland Sutton. Would you trade him for a mid to late first and that extra third on top of that? I think this is kind of a different question if you're talking about one quarterback versus Superflex. In a one quarterback league, I'm not sure if I would make this trade, maybe. In a Superflex league, I absolutely would. That 1.08, as already mentioned, could be another fantastic rookie wide receiver that might actually be valued more than Courtland Sutton heading into his rookie year. You know, like I already mentioned, like a Rashad Bateman, a Devonta Smith, Rondale Moore, Jalen Waddle, kind of a player at 1.08 in Superflex. I'm not 100% sure if you're getting that receiver in a one quarterback league. You know, if you think about who's going to be gone, Najee, probably Travis Etienne, and then Jamar Chase, Devonta Smith, Rashad Bateman, maybe Kyle Pitts is gone, and Rondale Moore. Maybe that's his first 7 picks off the board. Maybe Javonte Williams. So maybe you're looking at a Rondale Moore, a Jalen Waddle type of a wide receiver at 1.08. In which case, I think that is a much tougher decision in a one quarterback league. And you know, the first comment on here, if it's one quarterback, I'd give it to Sutton. Superflex is a lot closer. And I do agree with that. I do think I would take Courtland Sutton in a one quarterback 1.8 pick instead of a Superflex 1.8 pick. Another interesting trade, Dobbins, Jacobs, and the 212 for Akers, McLaurin, and the 2.04 in a PPR one quarterback league. I actually, you know, off the rip, I think this is pretty easily Team B. I think I would take Cam Akers over J.K. Dobbins straight up. I would take Terry McLaurin over Josh Jacobs straight up. And obviously you'd want the 2.04 instead of the 212. So I think that's a pretty easy team B here. I think, Jacobs and McLaurin, you can kind of view that differently depending on how you view Terry McLaurin or Josh Jacobs with Kenyon Drake now. But I think the difference between 2.04 to 212 and Akers and Dobbins mitigates any of the question marks surrounding McLaurin and Jacobs 1-for-1. That's why I think it's Team B here. I think that's a pretty easy trade for me to analyze. Moving on. Another trade question here. 12-team Superflex tight end premium league. I have been talking with the owner of Kyler Murray. He is stacked at quarterback, and I need to trade for some youth and skill. Thoughts on the following offer: Carson Wentz, the 1.06, and a 2022 first rounder. I'd imagine that's a 21 1.06 and a first next year for Kyler Murray. I think this is a really interesting question because Kyler Murray, obviously, being valued as a top 3 dynasty quarterback overall, and Wentz could maybe revitalize his career in Indianapolis. You're adding on the 1.06, which could be another quarterback. It could be a Trey Lance, could be Zach Wilson, it could maybe even be Justin Fields, depending on how the NFL and your rookie drafts go. The 2022 first added on top of that is also really interesting, just to kind of bridge the value gap between Wentz and the 1.06 to Kyler Murray. For this one, I really feel like you should probably go with the Wentz and the 1.06 side. And the reason I say that, I'm looking at the team that's down here. You can see it, this team right here. Wentz and Matt Ryan are his quarterbacks, and he's got Taylor, Swift, Carson, and Mack at running back, AJ Brown, CD, Higgins, and Pittman at wide receiver, and then a mix of Ingram, Gronk, and David Njoku. So from that team, I think it's a pretty solid, it's a very young team. I think what you want to do and what you should probably try to do is, instead of trading for Kyler Murray and losing out your 1.06 this year and your first rounder next year, is you should keep Carson Wentz, look to get another quarterback at the 1.06, and that way then you have 3 instead of 2, And just in case anything were to happen to Matt Ryan as well, I think it would be a lot better to go into the season with Wentz, Ryan, and potentially Trey Lance or Zach Wilson than Kyler Murray and Matt Ryan. I think just, you kind of want quarterbacks by numbers here, especially with some of these guys having question marks. It would be really nice to have a solid, foundational quarterback stone in Kyler Murray. But the fact that you're also giving up Wentz and, like I said, potentially another rookie quarterback, that's hard for me to swallow, especially when I look at the rest of your team, not really needing wide receivers, not really needing running backs. And it's really the quarterback position that you need to address for your long-term success. I think that you need to keep Wentz and your rookie quarterback and your first next year as well. So here's another interesting one, is talking about rookie draft. We're going to move away from trades for a bit. He says, I'm picking at the 1.01 and 1.05 in a rookie draft this year. I'm a big believer in Jamar Chase, but I'm not sure drafting a wide receiver at the top end of the draft is actually worth it. I do have pretty good depth at wide receiver. Historically, how many rookie wide receivers pan out? So I will mention that he says up here in the poll that he does have 2 top 5 picks in a 1 quarterback league. So we can remove all those quarterbacks and just talk about 101 and 1.5 in a 1 quarterback league. And if this is the team that he's got right here, right, he's got 101, 105 up here, makes me believe this is the team that he's talking about. He's got Kyler Murray, he's got Jalen Hurts, pretty solid in a 1 quarterback league. He's got Clyde, he's got AJ Dillon, he's got Zach Moss. Needs some help at running back. DK Metcalf, Calvin Ridley, Terry McLaurin, Will Fuller, Jay on the Reagor, Edwards, Hamler at wide receiver. I think you're pretty solid there. George Kittle at tight end, definitely better. Not going to address the IDP because I don't know IDP, but you have Danielle Hunter, Aaron Donald, Darius Leonard, Blake Martinez, Patrick Queen, Isaiah Simmons, Budda Baker, Chase Young. I feel like you're pretty good at IDP. I don't know, but I feel like you're pretty good there. So looking at your team, I would say the 101 in a 1 quarterback league for you should definitely be Najee Harris. I think that's a pretty easy pick. Take him over Jamar Chase. Take the rookie running back that is going to get production off the rip. Add to your running back depth. So then you go into the season starting Najee and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and you got AJ Dillon in the wings waiting for a potential Aaron Jones injury. Same with Zach Moss. If Devin Singletary goes down, you got a starting running back right there, a full caliber starting running back in Zach Moss. So I think that's a pretty easy 1.01 pick. The real question will be, what would you do at the 1.05? And I think that would also be a running back for me. You know, like I said, your wide receivers are solid. I don't think you can really start all that many more. He says that you can start 2 wide receivers and then 2 additional flex. So if you're starting DK and you're starting Calvin Ridley in your wide receiver spot, you're starting Terry McLaurin as one of your flexes. And Will Fuller probably as well would be another one. Like, you're not going to have the opportunity to start another rookie wide receiver. And especially one at 1.05, you know, you're thinking Jamar Chase is already gone. Probably Devonta Smith as well, too. Maybe Rashad Bateman. I think 1.05 should be Javonte Williams. I don't think it should be Kyle Pitts because you have George Kittle. I think it should be Javonte Williams or Travis Etienne, whichever running back is there at 1.05 and whichever you probably fancy. So then that way, you know, you go into the year with Clyde, Najee Harris, Javonte Williams or Etienne, and then Dylan and Moss. And you're still very set. So then your 2 running backs are Clyde and Najee Harris. Your 2 wide receivers are DK and Calvin Ridley. Terry McLaurin is one of your flexes. You know, you can kind of see which is better between Will Fuller or your other running back for your flex. You got all the other stuff going for you on IDP. You got George Kittle. You're good to go. I think that's the move, just doubling up on running backs at the 1.01 and the 1.05. I think that's where we're at. Here's an actually very interesting question, especially something that we don't necessarily be talking about with Dynasty leagues, but this is an FFPC league, 12-team PPR, 1.5 tight end premium. He said that he needs some help with cuts because FFPC leagues are actually a little bit more shallow than your typical 25, 30-man leagues. I believe they're 20 or 21-man rostered leagues. So you are going to have that added kind of, you know, strategy with cuts and a little bit of a deeper and more available waiver wire pool. So here we got the question. My team is loaded except for the tight end position. I'm in win now mode and should be one of the top 2 to 3 contenders this year again. My only tight ends are Hunter Henry, Jared Cook, and David Njoku. The rest of my roster is set, so he needs to cut one of these tight ends. He's keeping Hunter Henry despite going to New England. Does he cut Jared Cook and hope that David Njoku gets traded or does something? Or since I'm trying to win this year, just give up on Njoku and cut him instead? Keeping Cook since he could likely win me this year as part of a committee playing the defenses with Hunter Henry. Also note that except for my first round pick, I don't have any picks until the 4th through 7th rounds. Probably redraft either of them or a similar meh tight end for the season late in the draft. So I definitely do agree that Hunter Henry should be the pick here. It is a tough decision, I think, between Jared Cook and David Njoku because I think both kind of have similar talent. David Njoku, for all intents and purposes, could be anywhere from the wide receiver or tight end 1 to the tight end 3 in Cleveland. Like, Bryant showed some stuff. They signed Austin Hooper to be their guy. David Njoku has been battling injuries for the past few years. Like, he really hasn't shown all too much to really warrant a draft spot in a shallow dynasty league. Jared Cook, on the other hand, just signed with the LA Chargers to be their number 1 tight end to replace Hunter Henry. And while he didn't really get all that much, in New Orleans last year between Breeze and Taysom Hill, he was still kind of solid. He is a little bit older. We're kind of waiting for him to kind of phase out, at least in New Orleans, to allow other tight ends to come up. But he's now the number 1 tight end in LA. And I think that would remain to be the case. I don't think they really bring in anybody else. So for me here, if it were me, I would cut David Njoku here because I'm looking for the production. Jared Cook can definitely have games where he has 4 or 5 receptions, and in 1.5 PPR leagues, that's 6 or 7 points. In a FFPC league, he can add an additional 30, 40 yards, maybe even score a touchdown. You're looking at a double-digit type of a player on, I would say, a slightly above average week for Jared Cook in the Chargers offense. So I would go with the production. If you're going for a win now contender mode, I would try to trade David Njoku if you possibly can, maybe for like a 3rd or even a 4th instead of trying to cut him. But ultimately, my decision would end up being cutting David Njoku and going with Jared Cook, who, yes, is older, but I think will have at least the production for 1 more year, and I can wait out that year in an FFPC league. Last question for the day, at least in this video, we're just going to look at one final trade, and that is Juju Smith-Schuster and the 2.02 in a 1 quarterback league, or David Montgomery. This is actually, on the surface, I think I would take Juju Smith-Schuster over David Montgomery, and just because it's the 2.02. I feel like this is one of those trades where whichever side that pick is on, I'm taking that side. But looking at his roster here, this is what he's got going on. So it is a 1-quarterback league, 10-team PPR league. He's got the 109, got the 202, and the 3.09. His quarterbacks are Rodgers and Baker Mayfield, solid in 1 quarterback. Swift, Kareem Hunt, Zach Moss, Chase Edmonds, Tony Pollard, and Alexander Mattison at running back. So I think you're pretty good. Could be better. Wide receiver, Metcalf, A.J. Brown, Terry McLaurin, Chris Godwin, Juju Smith-Schuster, Curtis Samuel, and Christian Kirk. Then he's got Noah Fant, Adam Troutman at the tight end position. And he's still playing kickers and defenses. So overall, I think you're going the David Montgomery side here to help with your running back situation. The way I see it, this is a start 2 wide receiver, 3 flex league. So your 2 wide receivers are going to be DK Metcalf and A.J. Brown. You've got McLaurin, you've got Godwin starting as 2 of your 3 flex players. Swift and Kareem Hunt more than likely are going to be your 2 running backs every single week. And then Juju would be your flex player. But I think what you have to do here is move Juju in that 202 for David Montgomery to add to your running back caliber, because if Swift or Hunt go down or one of them underperform, you need to have another starter. And I'm not a huge David Montgomery fan. I think that he is going to be held back a little bit from what he did the end of last year, because Tariq Cohen coming back, taking away some of his receiving workload. He faced a lot of weak defenses in that stretch last year, but he was, a top 3 running back at the end of the year, or at least top 5. And so I'm wondering if a lot of people see that and they think that he should be worth a lot more, or there's people like me who are kind of hesitant on David Montgomery. But I think this is a pretty solid trade for David Montgomery, giving up Juju and the 2.02, Juju being in a wide receiver group that you already have a bunch of other loaded players that can definitely produce. And so this is all about the starting roster for me right now, is that you can get David Montgomery and DeAndre Swift in your running back spots, play McLaurin and Godwin and Kareem Hunt in your flexes, and you're good to go. And in case anything were to happen to your running backs, you have some Moss and Chase Edmonds and Tony Pollard and Alexander Mattison to back you up. And then if any of their starters go down, those guys get vaulted, or potentially even Edmonds is the starter heading into the year for the Cardinals. It's a possibility. I don't know if it happens, but it could be happening. So that, I think, is just moving away from your solid stud wide receiver core into your running back core to a running back who I view as safe moving past the NFL draft. This could definitely be a situation where, that running back is not really a safe type of a player. Like, I'd be more concerned about it if it was a Chris Carson, Ronald Jones, even Melvin Gordon type of a running back who might not be safe post NFL draft, or, based on free agency and whatnot. But I think David Montgomery is pretty solid and pretty secure moving forward for at least this year and potentially even next year as well. So based on team and everything here, I would go David Montgomery. So that is going to do it then for today's video. I hope this was at least interesting for some of you out there. Maybe you got something from one of these trades before, a little bit more analysis, or maybe thinking about team and trades in a different way. I think this was personally fun for me to run and down and do all this and change the pace a little bit from the other videos that I have been doing. I will be sending out my quarterback video on Friday. I just didn't decide to do it for today's video because I didn't really have enough research to really make a good video for you guys. So that will be Friday, trade show on Thursday, and then all of next week and then into the NFL draft as well will be a lot more content for you guys. So with that all being said, thank you all so much for tuning in, and we will catch y'all later.